Order number 4 was a 49 card order that turned into a 48 card order. They got out on February 3rd, done with it by February 28th. 17 total business days.
PSA submission video, a number 4 more crack and release in honor of all of the criminals out there in California who get cracked and released. I've got a bunch here. Some of it'll look similar, what we're working with. A couple more Jordan 9s. Skybox, Devin Booker, which was a 10 that they made into a 9 as part of that 24 card order.
When it comes to Ben Simmons, I am buying.
Again, if you didn't see that video, I'll put a card there. Submitted a 24 card order to PSA. Cards all in SGC slabs. Made the noob rookie mistake of leaving them in their SGC slab and not cracking them out. PSA hammered me. I had a bunch of 10s in there, and almost everything that was in 10s, they knocked down to 9s at least. Everything got knocked down. I believe it was 1.5 grade points on average, somewhere in that range. The Simmons, again, it's not worth doing this, but the ego dictates that I take a look, at least, at these cards. That Simmons was in an old school holder, 10. He actually came back and is playing recently from the time I'm recording this video, which is January 31st. Another Tatum optic. This one will be interesting to see. Maybe there's a huge dent or something there. A 9 that they knocked down to a 6. Chunks of card slab flying everywhere. Brady was a 10, they knocked down to a 9. And remember what I was saying, if you had seen previous parts, keep them in these bags, hammer the heck out of these corners to make it easy when you want to go ahead and insert the old screwdriver. Fultz Silver was a 9, they knocked it down to a 7. And this card was not part of that. This was an HGA Genesis Nico Collins that was a 9. Centering 10. Everything else came in at 9 subgrades, as you can see. I'm not having it. Can't have a card of Nico in an HGA slab, so we're cracking it out, trying to see if we can cross that to a 10. At the very least, you would assume it's a 9. And the 2 Jordan cards you are about to see first, these were part of a larger 409 card order where I submitted a ton of Jordans, and they worked me over in terms of the gem rate with these Jordans. I talked about it in one of my previous preview submission videos where the Kemps and the Paytons I submitted, the gem rate was a lot higher, like 50, 60%, somewhere in that range. It's been so long ago, I can't remember. I do see a little something there, right there. Looks like a little bit of white, or like maybe a little bit of a lip on the border. Let's see how the other one looks. With the Jordans though, the gem rate was a lot lower. Like I had said in that video, that the Jordans gemmed at a far lower rate. So I wanted to see if any of these ones that looked pretty well centered, you see a little something there, little light surface issues, a little something there. It's not really picking up that well. Everything else is good. Of the Jordans I've opened so far, I could say these 2 look to be a little bit lesser quality. And there was no hesitation to submit any of the previous cards. These 2, I think we're flushing our money here. I'm actually going to do it anyway. I'm calling 9s on both. This was the first one you saw, and this was the one I just cracked open. Booker's up next. See the Booker? I'm confident sending this one. It does have a little bit of a surface speck right there. Everything else looked pretty clean. Maybe the faintest little tip. Whenever in the past I would pull a Booker card, and you may know this if you've seen any of those videos, and it was clear that he was dating a supermodel, I would take every opportunity to do some research on said individual and incorporate some of that into the video, but I don't know if that's the case right now, and I don't know if that's appropriate. It shouldn't be something that I should be delving into. Matters of the heart. When things aren't clear, I think I'd be awful as a human to go ahead and get into those kind of things if those 2 lovebirds are no longer together. It'd be awful of me. It'd be awful. Benjamin Simmons, pretty good. See a faint print line there. and then a little bit of a surface scratch there. Looks like right there. You know, something surprising, back centering. Not saying it's not within 10 range for PSA, but a little bit off. SGC perhaps had a different standard for centering on the back then. Still go 10 on that Simmons. A little iffy though. Go 10 on the Booker as well. Tatum, all I can see is really a little bit of a slight little dinkster over there. Everything else looks pretty clean. Centering, solid. Maybe a little tad heavy over there. The back. On the back, you don't really see a lot of that print lining nonsense that usually is there. Interesting how they had pretty good quality cards back then. The couple I've cracked so far from this year, the McCaffrey and this Tatum, look pretty solid. Top to bottom centering, that might be what you're looking at in terms of the issue. If this McGrady isn't looking like a 9, I wouldn't be hurt, really, because even if it gets back into a 9 holder, I can't imagine this card being worth $15 as a 9. I'm not sure of the comps, but I can't imagine. And I'm going to say a couple print lines in there, pretty faint. There you go, there's one, the other's right over there. But I think this one doesn't go back in. PSA looks to have gotten this one right. SGC looks to have missed. Look at that. See how the light's reflecting off it? Kind of an L shape there, whatever that is. So the first grader obviously missed that. An interesting shape to that. There's no indication on the front that you would see whatever that is. I wonder how it got that way. I wonder if that's just from somebody grabbing the card. It's all speculation here, of course. You can see it there. Again, I wonder if that's just from somebody grabbing onto the card. That one won't be going. Again, though, it looks to me, and if you have any ideas, I know it's harder for you since you don't see it, but if you have any ideas how a card can get like that, how it could have that kind of crease, or if you've seen a card with that kind of crease before, let me know. Optic Brady, base. I'm all about that base. Print line action up there. On the top on the Brady, you could see it right there by the M. And I saw a little something that looked like a design flaw. Right near his sock. Again, one of those things that looks like it might be a scratch or a print line or something, but it looks to be just a design flaw. Sounds like I'm just trying to convince myself to send it in, but seemingly knowing that PSA daddy is probably right on this one. Call that one a 9. And as I said, that McGrady not being something worth submitting again, not the worst thing in the world. That $15 saved, probably find some better ways to spend that money, probably sending 18 other cards that I shouldn't be sending, more than cancel $15 that I'm saving. With this Fultz, I'm comfortable predicting it goes back in a 9 holder, but you see a print line here. I can see a little action on the back, some print lining. You can see here. One thing I noticed was it looks like this corner here might be raised a little bit. Doesn't look like you could tell from that angle. And then there's some printer cheese on there. Printer cheese, don't mind seeing cheese on the back of thighs at the beach or at the gym for a girl wearing booty shorts that accentuate the butt crack. That's a problem for me. So you can see that there. I'd imagine that's probably why they dinged it. My feeling is going to be that when I go back and look at all of these cards that I thought had shots at 10s, that came back as 9s with my larger 409 card order. A little bit of a print line in here. A little bit of a surface nick there. In addition to the cards that I should have cracked out of cases to begin with when I sent in that 24 card crossover order long ago. A little print line action there. I have a feeling that some of them will get a bump. Some of them will stay the same. I don't know that we're going to see any conclusive results of anything nefarious with PSA. I know SCV talks about when it comes to cards, older cards, I mean, not so much this one, but and we'll call 10 on that. Going out on a limb. Why would they put your card in a 10 holder unless it benefits them in some way? Not going to go out and say that in terms of these cards because these cards are insignificant relative to the kind of stuff that he's grading. What I'm going to do and show this Herbert, which I showed in the last video. I had cracked it open. This one's fringe. Could be a 9, could be a 10. I'll just call 9 on it. Show you that again if you didn't see me cracking that in the last video. That'd be video number 3. Pretty clean. I thought there was a little something up here, maybe like a little print line near his helmet. To me, it's fringe. Fringe cringe. I'd probably 10 a card as a grader if I saw something this clean from Clearly come in, where the centering looks pretty solid. A little bit thicker over here, of course. But that's one thing I always wonder is, with these cards, I know that graders see a lot of them. That probably the grader I get has seen 10s, 20s, hundreds of these type acetate cards. Is there some kind of relative scale where a minor print line, some minor surface specking is allowed because that's just the way the cards are? If a card's pretty decently centered and the print lines and things like that aren't visible to the naked eye, to me, I would let it slide as a 10, knowing that that particular card, again, just prism stuff, anything chromium based, that there are going to be minor issues, so there has to be some kind of minor allowance for those. Speaking of minor allowance, Wander, this one was a 9.5 SGC, so we are going for the 10 because what I was saying was PSA 9 and an SGC 9.5. I doubt there's any value difference in those on the secondary market. I'd love to see a Herbert 10 on that one, but I'm going to say they'll probably give it a 9.